Hey guys, it's David from Unqualified Critics. Been a while since we chatted. I'm in the new house. I don't really have a good room right now for a game area until I get the basement finished. I got a couple cabinets in my office, but it's not the same as having a dedicated space. For me, that was half the fun. So I will get back to that eventually, but in the meantime, I do still keep an eye on home arcade news, and this really caught my attention. So shout out to the Geek Getaway if you want to check his video out. He does a interesting analysis. He claims some sources, doesn't say who they are. This is all unconfirmed, but I do believe it's credible, and I'll explain why. But it looks like Arcade1up. We knew John D was out. That's been news for a while, but much deeper than that. The CEO himself is out, and if the CEO is out and John D are out, and they both still say they work at Arcade1up on their LinkedIn, I checked as of recording this video, then probably a bunch of other people are out too that we don't know about. I mean, that is a fair assumption. It almost seems like they're cleaning house, but you don't remove a CEO slash founder lightly, because we'll talk a little bit about what's going on here, but long story short, that's a big deal. Also, I think this may be the beginning of a power shift in home arcade. iiRcade has been dead now for months. We know that. Unfortunately, for me, not a big surprise. Probably for a lot of you, not a big surprise. But AtGames is still chugging along and signing new deals. But I think this news overall speaks to the home arcade space as much or more than it speaks to Arcade1up. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. But AtGames now, we think, probably monopolizes the consumer vpin. And take a look at this. I mean, this is not a pre-order, but pre-orders open soon. Clearly, a deal is inked with Zen Studios. They wouldn't be promoting this. But look how sweet this looks. Mine is this. This is junk. Like, I don't need to know that it's 4K every time I look at the damn back box. But whatever. The machine itself looks great. It's got the right silhouette. It really looks like the Arcade1up vpin minus the recessed panel, plus some extras. Whether or not this is a dynamic screen, I don't know. We know we have a good DMD that's designed to display those LED style graphics. Perfect. That was a big part of why I like the Arcade1up design. We've even got a topper over here, and they're going to be, I think it says 24 different SKUs, each one with the game that's on its artwork. And then I'm sure you'll be able to download and add additional games. So you can check this page out for more information. I didn't want to do a deep dive on this, but a couple, what I think are important notes. The price. Maybe this is a sustainable price. We know Arcade1up wanted to do $500. They ended up launching at $599. That was a while ago, by the way. But even with inflation, that was a lot lower than what we see here. But it just wasn't quite what everyone wanted. I think it was, if I remember right, it was 30 frames per second. I don't know. It's been forever since I reviewed that. But a lot of people were upset about the resolution. You could see noticeable pixelation. Not worth going through all that stuff again. But the point is, the quality just wasn't quite where people wanted it to be, I think. And that was before we knew what we know now, which is the PCBs for Arcade1up pinballs have a high failure rate. Not surprising to me, those things run super hot. And I'm concerned personally for my Arcade1up pinball. I don't play it much right now because my basement's not finished, but eventually I am going to be getting that thing hooked back up. And it sounds like it's a matter of when, not if, the PCB dies. Will Arcade1up still provide replacement PCBs if they're no longer in the pinball game? I don't know. That's a concern that I have. But this machine might represent a much more sustainable price of $1,100. Get you the quality you want. Assuming this comes out and it's good. But I think AtGames has shown they can produce a nice vpin. It's got the licenses that I think a lot of people are going to want. It's going to have the games probably that people are going to want. And we know Adam's Family. That's a big deal. I don't think we know what the other SKUs are. But this is the product people want, but it's more expensive than Arcade1up wanted to sell. And that's kind of my bigger point with this video. I think we now know. Maybe it's premature, but I feel pretty confident saying Arcade1up, with its vision for super affordable home arcades, but with great licensing, I think we now know that is not actually workable, not actually sustainable. The $400, $500 cabs, you're paying a lot of money for licensing. I have no idea how much they pay for licensing. It's clearly a lot of money. And Arcade1up thought that licensing would equal sales. I think we're learning now Not necessarily true. We've all seen the clearances on NFL Blitz. NBA Jam maybe sold a little better. I don't know. Arcade1up doesn't release any of this information, but it feels like diminishing returns from the heyday of Star Wars and NBA Jam. And those seem to be licensed cabs that did really well. We know Pac-Man does really well, but you could only sell so many of those. They clearly needed to branch out. And they did amazing work branching out. I mean, to think that they licensed Killer Instinct with all of that messiness, with Microsoft having to be involved and Rare, that's crazy, right? But I think we've learned the issue is not emulation. A lot of the videos I watch or used to watch on this topic, people talk about, oh, okay, emulate this game or emulate that game. At this point, most of the games people want can be emulated cost effectively for the mass market. I think the problem is the licensing cost. And I think, Arcade1up can only survive if they can sell $400, $500, $600 cabinets. I don't think they can do what AtGames is doing, because $1,100, that's a small market. I don't think they can survive selling $1,100 machines. They need to be huge scale. It sounds like in the past that they pay an upfront cost for licensing, and then they've got to sell X number of units against that. And that is a big part of why they have to have huge volume. Plus, they're, crapping these things out of some factory in China that probably has minimum orders. How AtGames is able to get around that, or produce at smaller scale, I have no idea. But I bet a lot of it comes down to the higher price point. And then, of course, we know AtGames has other ways to monetize their cabinets. Arcade1up currently doesn't. I mean, they have a director of digital sales. Obviously, they have the gaming tablet for board games. They sell games there. They've talked about introducing that to the 3/4 scale cabinet. I think it's just too little too late. I think that their model doesn't work. And in hindsight, I don't think it was ever going to work. I think they were in the right place at the right time. Yeah, they made mistakes, but look, the quality of the joystick, I don't think, stuff like that people talk about on YouTube, I don't really think that's why they seem to be failing. I think they thought they could keep growing and get into being, a serious business, a big 8-9 figure business. And I think they were organized around that with huge targets. They have a debt coming due that they need to pay. Do they have money for that? Supposedly, if you watch this video, the debt has something to do with this, that the group that funded Arcade1up back in 2020 supposedly are the ones forcing these changes. So do they have a vision for Arcade1up that's sustainable? Will the new CEO be more sustainable? I don't know. But I think what we're seeing right now is the beginning of a real decline. Not to say it can't be saved. They have better brand awareness and better licensing arrangements still than anyone else, even with this pinball blow. But there's a reason Zen Studios was talking a couple years ago about doing a Gen 2 of pinball. They have these ambitions, and it was presumed they would work with Arcade1up. I remember reporting on that. I was really stoked about it. It sounded a lot like this. They wanted to come back and do it right. Arcade1up's not producing a machine like this, again, because they have to be able to sell a bunch of units to Walmart or whatever. This ain't going to be in stores in Walmart. I mean, not in any kind of volume. Probably not at all. It's too pricey. Doesn't mean it's not worth it. And I'm excited to see this product drop. This is the first AtGames product I've ever seen that looks exciting to me, because I'm not a big multicade buyer. I think going forward, there will always be a place, though, for multicades. They don't need to be produced at huge scale. They don't have to have huge licensing deals behind them. And I think that's why AtGames has been kind of the slow and steady. They made their own missteps too, but their offerings seem more sustainable at their price points. They might here and there flirt with a big retail release like the mini cabinet they did. I don't know how well that did or didn't do. But, supposedly they were asked by Walmart to do something smaller and tighter. But at the end of the day, I think their bread and butter are going to be direct sales or that higher price boutique sale and servicing you with software and whatever. It's not necessarily the model I wanted to see. That doesn't get home arcade to that next level of popularity. I still believe Arcade1up's the only company that can achieve that, but I'm starting to think it's not achievable. We'll see where we go from here. Maybe Arcade1up can renegotiate their licensing, get that price down, because if you can't sell enough NFL Blitz cabinets to pay off the license, maybe there's a problem with the license fee. Maybe it's not as valuable as the NFL thought. I don't mean the NFL's branding in general. I just mean specifically the license for Blitz, because OneUp made a good effort. They had, the legitimate 49-way joystick. They had a pretty good looking cabinet, and they failed. So maybe the cost structure baked into their model just isn't quite right. And the licensors are a big part of that. But whatever we see here, someone may pick up the pieces if Arcade1up starts to really decline, or if a new CEO radically changes direction. And AtGames doing a Zen collaboration with a pinball that looks freaking sweet, like looks really legitimate and authentic. It doesn't look like what I thought was a pretty ugly design when they first launched. This looks cool. Will we see more of this from them as Arcade1up fails to uphold or deliver on the licenses that they've been able to win? We'll find out. I'll keep my ear out for any kind of verification that Scott Backrack is out at Arcade1up, but at this point, if I had to put money on it, that's what I think is happening behind the scenes. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.